Hey, Foxy listeners, and welcome to episode 172. My guest today is Katie Brinkley. She's going to be talking to us about why you're not getting leads from your social media, why it doesn't have to be so overwhelming and difficult, and how to pick the right platform to be on. So let's get started. I'm Tanya Fox, and you're listening to Fox Talks Business Podcast. I started my career in the corporate world, but always played to my own tune and loved to think outside of the box. This didn't always serve me well with the bosses, so I made the decision to become an entrepreneur. And that little seed of entrepreneurial curiosity continued to grow as I branched out into retail, service, and franchise businesses. Now, I have been fortunate to have amazing successes in the last 2 decades, but they did not come without some really big failures and even bigger lessons learned. And that's why I started this podcast, not just to share the failures, but to show you how you can turn every failure into a success. We're going to hear from some amazing humans from around the world that are going to share their stories of the good, the bad, and the motivational entrepreneurial life has to offer. After all, life is too short to make all of the mistakes yourself, so why not learn from each other? And of course, we're going to have some fun, because as I always say, well, you know what? I'll tell you that at the end of the episode. Hey, Foxy listeners, thank you for joining me on the show today. I'm super excited for my guest, Katie, today. I know you guys are going to get absolutely a lot out of this, so you're going to want to make sure that you get a pen and a notebook. But first, Katie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So for those who don't know or haven't been stalking you like I have been, give us a little bit of background of your story.
Yeah, so I never expected to be doing social media for a job. I've been doing it though for 18 years now. I started back in the days of MySpace. I worked at the college radio station, and part of the duties for the college station was to get bands and record labels to send you their music for free. So we didn't have to pay royalties. And so we were all writing these handwritten letters. We weren't even really sending out emails. We were writing letters with manila envelopes, like, hey, send it back. And I was like, man, there has to be a more efficient way to do this. So this was right when MySpace was launching. And if you remember, MySpace was for musicians and bands. We all had our own little, websites, but for most people, MySpace was the place to be. Facebook was just for colleges and universities. And my college, for whatever reason, Facebook didn't think it was worthy of being on there. It was a smaller school in Four Corners area of Colorado. So I was all in on MySpace, started connecting with bands, started really trying to see what kind of network I could grow. And started making a lot of friends with different bands. I was getting tons of music sent to the station, and station manager said to me, like, Katie, how are you getting all this music? I was like, well, just MySpace. And that was when I really realized like how limitless we were when it comes to connections and networking when you are using social media. I was able to land my dream job right out of college. I was the former post-game reporter for the Colorado Rockies and the Denver Broncos. So I worked at the 850 KOA here in Denver and loved it. But again, being a social media anything didn't exist. So I was just kind of dabbling in it, helping different business owners when Facebook opened up, and just continuing to stay up on the latest trends. And 6 years ago, I'm going to fast forward through about a decade, but 6 years ago, I launched my own social media agency. And it's been great. Like, I get to stay up to date on the latest trends. I get to post on social media. I get to help small businesses and entrepreneurs with their social media presence. And now I'm actually getting paid for it. It's not a barter system. It's not a trade system. I do miss the free concert tickets, but I mean, social media is absolutely a part of all of our lives. And if you're not on some social media platform as a business owner, you're missing out on an opportunity.
So let's, that's a perfect lead in. You always know when you're interviewing a fellow podcaster because they just lead you in right away. So let's talk about the 5 reasons why you aren't getting your leads, because I think a lot of people, I know most of the people that listen to my podcast are on social media. But one of the things they struggle with is actually getting leads because they feel like, okay, I'm putting stuff out, I'm doing like the stuff that I'm supposed to, but nothing's coming back. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, don't disregard or don't discount, I guess. Don't diss something, but don't discount how important hashtags are. I know that people are like, oh, we're going to go down this direction, but we are. So, and I'm not just saying like, okay, use 30 hashtags in your post. I'm saying it for the other reason. Look at the hashtags that your ideal clients, your ideal customers, your ideal people are using. So for me, I speak at a lot of real estate conferences and events. So I hang out in the hashtag Denver Realtor, Denver Real Estate, Realtor Life. I mean, like those are the hashtags that I'm hanging out in. I'm not saying I'm putting those in my posts. I'm saying that I'm using those hashtags, opening up the search on Instagram, and I'm going in there and I'm commenting on those people's posts. When you show up consistently on a regular basis in different hashtags, people start recognizing you. And if I leave a comment for somebody that's a well thought out like for all things, please stop with the 3 heart emojis, the 3 fire emojis, whatever. The 3 emojis just need to stop. That's not a valid comment. I'm saying actually reading what the post is about, looking at the picture and commenting on something that was put out there. Somebody, another content creator, spent the time to create that post. Leave a well thought out comment, and that people are going to notice that. They're going to be like, oh my goodness, hey, thanks. I am Katie Brinkley. Who is I am Katie Brinkley? Why are they commenting on my post? They then now head over to my account and they see, oh, well, look at all the tips she has. Look at the reels she has. Oh, that's so relatable. And now they're in my circle. So don't discount hashtags because it helps you get in front of the right people. But it's kind of this I scratch your back, you scratch mine, because everybody wants more comments on their posts. Am I right?
Well, and I think that's a great tip because I think a lot of times you're right. People are like, "Oh, how many hashtags do I have to end?" But, thinking of it differently, of actually using it to connect with other people, because I think, you know, I know for myself, I'm more likely to go and search someone's page if they have left a comment on mine. Like if they just follow me, then usually maybe I won't pay super attention, but I really hone in on those ones that have left an actual message, because I get a
Yeah.
lot that'll just like all of a sudden they like a bunch of photos. And so
Yes.
I kind of feel like, did you just want me to go to your page? Because sometimes the photos they like, and I'm like, why would you like that one?
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, like, and this is the thing. If I leave a comment on yours, you can then comment back. Now we're having a conversation. It's not so weird if for some reason we continue the conversation in that post, or if you leave a conversation or a comment on mine, I comment back. It's not so weird to show up in someone's DMs then. Because we've already talked. We've talked
Yeah.
publicly. We've talked it out in front of everybody. So if I, for better lack of better terms, slide into your DMs or you slide into mine, it's not like, wait a second, who is this? Why are you, what are you selling me?
Yeah. Who are you? What do
So,
you want? Yeah. Like when someone knocks on your door now. Wait, what?
yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, because I think a lot of times too, people find that social media gets really overwhelming because there's so much, right? Like there's so much that you're supposed to do, and there's so much information on what's good to do and what's not good to do, that a lot of people get really overwhelmed and then sometimes just try everything or sometimes just do nothing because they're
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I don't even know.
Well, you're not alone. It can be overwhelming, and so I offer done for you social media, but I also offer coaching and consulting. And one of the very first things that we do when I'm working with a new client is we take a giant step back, because you wouldn't believe how many people are on every single social media platform known to mankind. They're on, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Snapchat and, Pinterest. And I mean, like, I get it. You don't want to miss an opportunity, But at the same time, if you're just copying and pasting the same piece of content for every single platform, all these platforms exist for a reason. They all have different audiences. There's all different ways to show up effectively. And if you're using the copy paste method, you're missing people. You're just white noise. So take that giant step back, really look if for those of you that are listening, look at the platforms that you're posting on and where you're getting the most traction. I might sit here and say time and time again, LinkedIn and Instagram are some of the best platforms for organic reach. But if you're getting great traction and leads over on Facebook, stick with it. Go all in on Facebook. If you're like, hey, I enjoy Instagram, I enjoy doing reels, I enjoy doing lives, go all in on Instagram. Find the platform that you're getting the most response from your clients and customers, or find the one that you enjoy doing the most. And just for, not to overwhelm even more, but Instagram, let's say you say Instagram is my place. I have good reach there. I like the content. If you're going to go all in on Instagram, you need to be effective on all the different ways that you can show up. So, I mean, if you think about it, there's 5 different ways. There's the good old fashioned single image post in the feed. There's also the carousel post in the feed, which are those swipeable images that you can see more than up to 10 of an image. There's Instagram stories. And if you're not posting to Instagram stories, you're missing an opportunity. 80% of people, when they open up the app, before they even start scrolling, they check out Instagram stories. So if you're not utilizing Instagram stories, start now. There's also Instagram Live. You and I can go live together. I can go live by myself. You can go live with up to 4 people. Instagram Live. And then last but not least, there is Instagram Reels. And this is the thing. There's 5 different ways. And the reason that there's 5 different ways is because everyone consumes content differently. So you have to show up all those 5 ways, not saying every single day, but at least throughout the month, so that you're reaching your target audience however they best consume content. So if you're feeling overwhelmed now with all that, I'm sorry, but hopefully I've given you enough permission to be like, okay, well, I don't need to be on every single social media channel. I just need to go all in on 1 or 2 and do them the right way. And that should help with some of the overwhelm that you might be feeling.
And this question kind of popped up into my head because I think a lot of people because even I'm really bad for copy and paste. I'll admit that because it's easier for me. But what I've started doing too, and tell me if this is a wrong thing to do, but what I've started doing is instead of trying to create, so Facebook and let's say Instagram and LinkedIn, instead of trying to create a completely different, like a whole completely different post, I still take that same post, but maybe word it differently to match that platform. So where Instagram might just be a photo of me doing something, if I put it out on LinkedIn, I will write why I did that. Like, here's my relaxation and why I think that time is important. Is that an okay strategy to have?
Yeah. And I think that too, like just going off of LinkedIn, there's a lot of features for LinkedIn that a lot of people don't even realize. I mean, there's LinkedIn newsletters, there's LinkedIn articles. You can have carousel posts on LinkedIn. You can also have clickable images on LinkedIn. So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to show up on all these platforms. And I mean, like the messaging, it does need to be a little bit different. It does need to speak a little bit differently to the audiences that are on that platform. So one of the big trends at the time of this recording is, we used to really talk about the importance of a hook with your Instagram post, because you're only seeing that top line and you wanted them to then click see more. So then they would read your caption. The way that Reels has transformed the way that we're consuming content on Instagram is actually pretty astounding. People aren't reading captions like they used to. Now, I'm not saying you don't need to put some thought into a caption, because it is still SEO based in the caption. But I mean, we used to really try and have that strong hook. What's going to make them want to click see more? Well, now with Reels, all we're putting out there for the hook is follow for more tips, comment below if, like this. I mean, like that's not a quality hook over on LinkedIn. You need to still have that quality hook that's going to bring people in, that they're going to want to click see more and read the full post that you've created. But with Instagram, everything's changed due to Reels.
So let's talk a little bit about, because some people might be going, okay, so I can't copy and paste anymore. I'm not supposed to do that. So, and I know you had mentioned like, look where you have the most, engagement and kind of stick with that platform. But let's talk a little bit about figuring out which social platform you should be on if,
Mhm.
let's say, they only have picked one and it's not really working for them.
Okay. So, I mean, like, and this is where too, it's, I think just personally, if there's a platform that's not really working for you, there's a way to work around that. So, I mean, there is a demographic for all these. I mean, if you love doing video, TikTok would probably be a great spot for you to spend time. If you like to do video, kind of, but also want to still get good organic reach and grow a community, Instagram's a good spot. If you want to talk business and do some networking, LinkedIn is perfect for that. Facebook, don't discount, good old Mark Zuckerberg. Yes, fewer people are on it every day, but there's a reason he does copy and paste with all the other platforms. And with Facebook groups, with what he's trying to do with the metaverse and NFTs, it's definitely not a platform that you should think about necessarily leaving anytime soon. So, with that being said, let's just say you're like, I really like Instagram or I really like LinkedIn. I do think that those are two of the best platforms to do the outward engagement strategy that I talked about earlier, where you find the hashtags. I mean, hashtags work on LinkedIn too. So, I mean, you can find those hashtags, go into the post and start commenting. You'd be surprised. There's time. I don't think that you need to be posting. Let's just put this out there. I don't think you need to be posting every single day on social media. I think you can have a very successful business and a very successful social media strategy posting just 3 to 4 times a week. I only post 3 times a week. I have a business to run. I don't have time to be spending, creating reels and carousels and all that every single day. So what I do every day though, is I go in for about 10 to 15 minutes and I engage. And I'm still gaining new followers. I'm still gaining, conversations. I still get people commenting on posts from last week. So when you don't have the time to necessarily create new content, or if you're like, hey, maybe this platform isn't the right one for me, think about how you can start engaging with your ideal clients and customers. And if you're like, I'm not really finding a ton of ideal clients here on Instagram, it definitely feels like this isn't my niche. Well, maybe LinkedIn is the spot for you, and you can still try that engagement strategy over there on LinkedIn. And if LinkedIn's not working, then you can always head on over to Facebook and check out Facebook groups, because Facebook groups is really one of the best places to cultivate community right now.
Well, and I like that you had said that about the engagement piece, because I think a lot of times when people think about, doing their social media, it's about what they're putting out, and not including that engagement piece as part of what they do. So, like you said, if you're putting your posts, you know, say 3 times a week, then the in between days, that's when you can actually be working on the engagement. Because I think,
Yep.
that's really that engagement piece, I think, is really where you're going to start to build, I would
Mhm.
imagine.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I think that uh, with engagement, so many people say like, well, no one's commenting on my post. How am I supposed to comment back? And it really, if you think about it, when MySpace first started, when Facebook first started, what were we doing on there? We were posting to each other's walls. I still get, I love this feature about Facebook right now, because it causes me to take that step back and be like, oh yeah, this is how social media was originally designed, and this is why we all fell in love with it. We went to each other's walls. I got a comment or a memory the other day that said, "Hey Katie, I'll be in Denver visiting my dad over Thanksgiving break. Will you be in town?" And I was like, "Huh, yeah. I wonder what Shannon is up to." I mean, like, but that's how we were. That's how we were showing up. We weren't creating content. We were creating conversation, and we were showing up regularly to see what our friends are up to connect with our friends. What are we doing now when we open up Instagram or TikTok? How can I waste an hour by watching 15-second videos, I mean, like, it's no different than like, I'm going to go downstairs and turn on the TV for an hour. We're showing up and we're consuming. We're not connecting. And this is what I think a lot of us need to get back to is how can I connect with other people? I'm not saying just to connect, just to make sales. There's been plenty of people where I'm like, oh, ideal client, here we are. But then I start talking and I'm like, actually, I'm an ideal client for them, or this would be a great power partner. I'd love to just sit down and have coffee with them and pick their brain. Hey, maybe they'd be a great guest on the podcast. All these things can happen by creating conversation instead of just trying to create content.
Well, and I think that's so true. And I think, even when I think for myself on those moments that I've really engaged with somebody or even just offered advice just because somebody asked a question and was like, hey, I need some help. Some of those have actually turned into clients that I was like, oh, I did. And they were like the perfect client. Right. But really, I was just responding because I was like, I just want to help out. Like, I have the answer. They're struggling. I have the answer. So here you go.
Yep.
And I agree with you that sometimes we forget that, like that sharing our information can lead to so much that you don't know. But we, instead of just trying to keep it all for our own content that nobody's commenting on anyway.
Well, think about some of your favorite Facebook groups that you're a part of. Someone asks a question and people chime in. And I mean, like, how many times do you go into a post just for the comments? Like whether it's a sports center, breaking news thing. Okay, there's the news. What are people saying in the comments?
Yeah,
what are
that's
people
true.
saying? And that's and from Facebook groups to breaking news and trending articles, the comments is where the magic happens, right?
It's so true. And I think like I have a guilty pleasure of like, there's one page that we have for our city and I literally just go in for the comments. I couldn't care what the question is, but I just want to see how crazy the people in my town are. But it's true. Like it draws me in and I'm not saying to go to those ones, but it is like, I never even thought about that before that I just want to see what people are saying because sometimes it's really funny.
I know.
And I think sometimes too, the other side of that, the business side of that is sometimes I'll go in, on Facebook groups that I'm on, when someone has an issue and I'm literally going in almost to research because I sort of have an answer, but I'm like, I'm curious what other people are saying the solution to this is.
Yeah.
So sometimes I find that interesting that it actually allows me to sort of do some research, but in an easy way.
Yeah. It's so true. And I think that, I mean, like you said earlier, there's times where like I've answered a question and it's turned into a client. And it goes back to that, but pay it forward almost kind of, like, hey, there's enough business for all of us, let's help support each other and help lift each other up. I once had a client where I was like, okay, so we're going to tell me everything. How does somebody, become a real estate investor? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, like whether they have to book a call with us. And I was like, but why should they book a call with you? Like, how are you going to help them? And they're like, well, that's what I tell them, after, in the coaching. And I'm like, but this is the thing. No one's going to know if you're the real deal unless you start telling people some of your tips, your tricks, give them the value. And they said, well, if I do that, aren't I going to, why would they then pay me, thousands of dollars to work with me? And it's like, well, if you're giving all this away for free, just imagine what they're going to get when they sign up to work with you. And if they are consuming all your free content, they're your biggest fan. So I would like to have that person looking at all my posts, listening to all my podcasts, reading all my blogs. I mean, that is fine. I'm helping educate them and they're learning from me and all the different ways that I can teach them. And that's honestly, it's a lot longer. It takes a lot longer, more time and effort to do it that way. And they still might end up working with you someday. So don't be afraid about giving value and giving it all away for free. For those of you that are just listening, I'm doing air quotes, but give it away, give the value, give the tips so that they can learn and they're going to cultivate the right community around your business.
Well, and I think too, when you give those, those tidbits of information away, the sale almost becomes easier because like you said, then they're like, well, I can't wait to see what you hold back. Like, I can't wait to figure out what it is that I'm actually paying for if this is what you give away for free.
Yeah, exactly.
And two, I think like for me, like for clients that I have, I like the ones who, almost have tried it themselves and then understand what goes into it and then come back and go, yeah, I don't want to do that. Because
Yeah.
they don't question anything. They're just like, yeah, I get how hard that is. You do it. It's like construction. I tried that once and I'm like, no, I'll just pay somebody to do that.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
no, perfect example. I okay, I can paint a wall. I can paint a wall. Roller. So my husband and I were like, let's redo the girls. We have two daughters. Let's redo the girls' bathroom. And okay, let's paint it. We'll have someone come in and put in the new tile and the new subfloor, all that. Have a plumber come in and put in a new faucet. But we can save some money and we can paint. Oh my goodness. Like we were doing it and we're like, why are we spending an evening doing this with two kids running around that are just making, more messes in the rest of the house and driving us crazy. And it's actually taking us about 6 hours to do this. And we're both doing it together. And I mean, I was like, next time let's just spend the $80 and have somebody else come in and paint. It's worth it. There's things that you can do, but then it also comes down to like, is this the best use of my time? And the way that we could have gone out and just taken the kids somewhere else. The painters probably could have come in and done it in an hour and a half because they're professionals and know what the heck they're doing. We would have been out of their hair. The house wouldn't have turned into a mess, and we wouldn't have ended up having to repaint the hallway because the other kid got the paintbrush and started painting the hallway because they wanted to help. So I mean, these are all things where you have to realize, like, okay, sometimes it just is helpful to have someone that knows what they're doing come in, do it effectively and efficiently, and you can just stay out of the way and enjoy the finished product.
Yeah. So I think, we're talking about like people kind of getting to know you and tips going out. So let's talk, because I had mentioned at the beginning that you're a fellow podcaster, but you actually have 3 podcasts. So we'll talk about all the other ways people can connect with you, but tell us about your podcasts, what they're about and where people can find you.
So Rocky Mountain Marketing is my main podcast. I have new episodes that come out every Tuesday, and we talk about digital marketing tips for entrepreneurs and small business owners. And then once a month, I bring in a Denver-based business owner to share their business journey, why they decided to become an entrepreneur, and what marketing has worked for them. Because I can sit up here in front of a microphone and talk about with some, of the best experts from around the world on what you should be doing. But sometimes, it takes that kind of outside the box thinking that really can help move the needle for your business. One of my favorite episodes is with a local coffee shop owner. And it was during the pandemic. And he was like, how am I going to remain in business? Well, he went to Facebook and he didn't post ads. He didn't post, a bunch of posts. He joined Facebook groups that were location specific around where his coffee shop was. He immersed himself into that community and started asking questions. Hey, if I can open up for just 2 days a week, what hours would you come? What food would you eat? Would you want breakfast or lunch item? I mean, and he was able to stay in business, keep his employees, paid, all because of Facebook groups. So I like to hear the stories from entrepreneurs on how they've found marketing to work for them. So that's one podcast is Rocky Mountain Marketing. And then I have 2 other podcasts, the NFT Ninjas Podcast, which is a daily podcast. We talk all about the terminology in NFTs because it does sometimes feel like a foreign language with this whole NFT thing. And we talk about breaking news and different ways that businesses and entrepreneurs are utilizing NFTs. And then last but not least is my passion project. I am the co-host on Across the Pond NFL podcast. So it allows me to get back to my sports radio roots, and we talk some football every week during the NFL season.
That's awesome. So if someone is sitting there and they're really connecting with everything that you said, which I'm sure a lot are because you gave so many great tips on this episode, where else besides your podcast can they go to find you to see if you guys would be a fit to work together?
Yeah, you can go to katiebrinkley.com or I'm on social media. So connect with me on social media. I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. So LinkedIn, I'm at Katie Brinkley. And then on Instagram, you can find me at I am Katie Brinkley.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing so many great tips. I think I hope everybody grabbed that pen and paper that I told you before, because I know I have a lot of notes and things that I need to start doing that I wasn't. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to Katie for coming on and sharing so many great tips with us. I know one of the biggest takeaways I got is I have to stop copying and pasting. It is one thing I am really guilty of. So you guys can hold me accountable. I'm going to try to be better at that. So you can head to our website and check out all of the links and ways that you can find Katie, listen to her podcasts, and all that other fun stuff. And speaking of websites, I am in love with my new website. So go check it out, foxtalksbusiness.com. I'm really excited about it because for years, to be honest, I was really embarrassed about my website, and I would kind of only send people to when I needed it. I could never get it to look the way I wanted it to look. I couldn't get the user experience to be the way I wanted it to be. And then I interviewed Lindy, who owns the company Up in a Day. And after chatting with her, I realized finally I found somebody who got it, who could see the vision and maybe make it come true. And after working a very short time with her, I had my new website up and going. It was more than what I even expected, and it was really reasonably priced. So if you are anything like me and you were like, oh, this is not the website I want, I highly recommend that you go check them out. You can find them plastered all over our new website because I am such a mega fan of theirs. So if you want to see the kind of work they do, head to my website and check it out. And I'll also make sure that I have some before and after photos, which are going to be showing up, because the difference is amazing if you haven't been to the site before. They're funny now. Like before pictures are never good when you have them, but when you have an after picture, I'm so happy to share them. And this is one of those times. With all of that being said, I hope that no matter what it is that you're doing today, whether you are just trying to plug along on social media or whether you're just having a chill day, thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to have fun, because as I always say, if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?